Helps if you put the right glove on the right hand. This is power only, mostly drop and hook. This particular one. I've turned this trailer in for repairs because of these glad hands are rusted up. Hard to get that one on and off, but they haven't fixed it yet. Federal inspection due this month. Tell them about that. And they're not fixing the things that I turn it in for. That one sounds a little low. All right. 30402. Everything looking good. Another pro tip: when you pull into these places, distribution centers, they always want the axles all the way back. And on these manual axles, you pull that bar out, lock it in, and move the axles back and leave the bar out. These guys, these yard dogs, when they're done, they'll move the axles back for you and lock it. But if you move it back and lock that bar, they'll just leave them back. So just a tip: when you move your axles back, leave them unlocked. Yard dogs will help you out a little bit. Another tip: always look up at the top, because if there's going to be damage, probably somebody's going to run into something. As you can see, these trailers have GPS system, and there's a camera inside the trailer too. So this is what we got. This has got a conveyor belt on the bottom, on the inside of this trailer, and they haul chicken manure. It's got a fold-away tarp. They load it up there, and then it conveys out the back. Fingers crossed we have the right person working today. There's one guy who refuses to look up BOL numbers, and I don't have a trailer number on this BOL. We'll see. I have a BOL number. They didn't put a trailer number on this one.
Are you picking up a Swift?
Yes, ma'am.
What is that?
831 897.
Okay, it's gonna be a minute.
Okay.
Without the trailer, it's hard to look it up by the
I understand. Now what they have in there is a stack of BOLs for all the trailers that are going out.
Do you have a trailer? Because you see how many bills we got, and without a trailer, I just don't have a lot of time to look it up out of BOL.
No, I don't. Get lucky.
Let me get you to sign that.
Okay. I appreciate it.
That's all right.
You want the top copy back? There you go.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, there's one lady in here. There's a lady that works in here. I can pull up, give her my BOL number. She can look it up on the computer in 2 seconds and find out what my trailer number is. But the thing is, when they're looking these things up on this BOL, the trailer number and the BOL number are right there together. And for some reason, they don't want to take, I guess because the BOL number is longer than the trailer number, they don't want to take that extra little second to look up the BOL. Now, she looked through over half of those BOLs and found mine in what, 5-10 seconds? So it's I don't know, one of those things that people just don't want to take a little extra time. H56. Okay. Mine's going to be right out here on the end. Hope you're all doing well. Hope your trucks are running good. I'm headed back over here to drop an empty trailer and pick up a preloaded one and head out again. Folks, power only is a bit more distressing than pulling a van. The reason being is that the loads aren't planned out as far as van loads. First of all, there's not even half as many power only loads as there are van loads. And on top of that, you cannot plan out in advance, like a week or two in advance, like you can pulling a van. Now, there's a few exceptions to that. The mega carriers sometimes list their loads out a couple of weeks in advance. But other than that, there's not much out there that's put on the load boards that far in advance. So it can get a little disheartening and you can get a little impatient when you're trying to do power only and you're searching those load boards and there's just nothing. And an example is this week. So normally what I do, if I'm not doing my normal little route that I have, is I start on Thursday looking for loads for the following Sunday or Monday. And depending on what, how I feel and what I want to do the next week, determines what I'm looking for. But normally I'll start Thursday morning. And the first thing I do is I just look for that gigantic rate. I'm looking for that blockbuster rate. I'll look for the highest rate that's on load board, see where they're going. If they happen to go where I want to go, fine, I'm on it. But 99 times out of 100, there's nothing like that. So then I start looking for, I have a lot of boxes to check. I'm real picky when it comes to the loads that I get and where I go, what I carry, and when I go. So I'll start looking Thursday morning, and I'll have all the categories, you know, that those loads have to fill. I'm looking for that very specific thing and a specific rate. And I started last Thursday, and it just did not look good at all. I put in a bid on a load going up to Denver, and didn't want the load, really didn't want it, but it left out on a Sunday, and I like driving on a Sunday. And it left out on a Sunday. It was a very heavy load. And so I put a bid in on it, and somebody underbid me right away. We went back and forth a couple of times, but after a minute I said, you know what, they can have that one. I don't want it that much. But there was nothing else on the board that was even remotely what I wanted to do. Now, there was a loadout trailer not too far from the house going to Arizona, but I couldn't put it together with a very, a good load. They were offering a couple $100s to take this loadout trailer, and then I was looking, for anything, it said I could keep the loadout trailer for 7 days, and I looked for any decent van rate going out west. I could normally find a really good rate going into Utah or Vegas or something like that, and I could find something going down to Arizona that's a decent rate from there, but just wasn't anything. And so I don't like sitting there and flipping and refreshing that load board all day. It gets depressing. So after about an hour of looking for loads there, I put the phone down, picked it back up a little while later. Most of the same stuff was on the load board. So I said, hey, I'm done until Monday. I'm not even going to worry about it, because you can really stress yourself out. It's not like searching for van loads, because there are lots of van loads out there, and you can book yourself out a week or two in advance if you want to. Power only loads are not like that unless you're looking at those mega carriers, and they just don't offer very good rates. So Friday is just a terrible, terrible day to try to find a load, for the following week. So I didn't even look at it Monday or Friday. I picked it back up Monday, looked at the boards. Wasn't really anything. And I live out in a terrible area for freight. I usually end up having a deadhead to either Houston or toward Dallas. A couple of hours deadhead to find something. And now, as most of you know, I have a little dedicated route. I call it my dedicated route. And normally when there's loads there, that agent will call me and book me out for the week. But last week there was nothing, and so Monday morning I got a call from that agent saying, hey, I'm not sure what's going on. I think they're trying to put a company driver on that load. He says, but you're my guy. I'm looking for another dedicated route for you if you're interested. And I said, well, heck yeah, if you can find me something similar to that, I'm always interested. And about 20 minutes later, I picked up the phone looking at the load boards, and boom, there was a load that picked up 20 minutes from my house. I called on it, talked them up, negotiated a little bit. I didn't want to lose the load to anybody else. It took me from my house down to Houston, which normally I'd be deadheading. So getting any kind of rate on it would have been a bonus. But I did talk them up to, I think it was $5 a mile, or really close to it. And wasn't really thrilled. I'll show you guys like that. I wasn't really thrilled about doing a repossession, and that's what it was. Repossessing a trailer. Because where I live is a small town, and everybody knows everybody. And so I took it anyway. I called the guy. I didn't recognize the name, but when I got out there, the guy that owned the farm, I knew who he was, and I wasn't repossessing the trailer from him. It was somebody that he was doing business with, and they left their trailer out there, so it wasn't a big deal. And I forgot to even turn on my camera when I got out there. But anyway, it turned out to be a real easy run, which was going to leave me in Houston. And normally when I get to Houston, I always have a fallback, because there's quite a bit of freight going from Houston to Dallas all the time. I can get an empty trailer just about any time going from Houston to Dallas and vice versa, for a minimum of $650, $700, and sometimes upwards of $1,000. And I figured, hey, I'll keep looking on the load boards, refresh every once in a while, try to find something good coming out of Houston, and if not, then I'll jump on one of those other loads. I was heading down there to actually Humble, which is just north of Houston. There's a Ritchie Brothers auction. That's where I was taking the trailer. So on the way down, I checked the load boards a couple times. Man, it just was not looking good. And that's it's normal. And as far as power only goes, on a Monday, that's just a normal thing. Like I said, you get a little bit disheartened and a little bit impatient, but you just have to keep refreshing and jump on the first thing that looks good. So about 30 minutes away from my final destination down there, and my agent calls me back and says, well, good news. They didn't give your account to a company driver. They were just taking those loads to a different location, but I got them back, and do you want them? And I said, hell, heck yeah. So he gave me a couple of loads. That's all there was at that moment. And they were about 200 miles away, so my house was right in the middle. So I just went to the house for the night. So real quickly, when you're doing this power only, things look, load boards just look desolate, and you don't want to take a load for $2 a mile or under. But real quickly, things can turn around if you're diligent and you keep checking that load board. And that's what happened. So what I thought I was going to have to be, crashing those load boards all day, every day, getting a different load from a different agent every single day, and maybe doing a carrier packet, turned around real quick, and I got my normal little route back. So you can't get too disheartened, especially when you're doing the power only. You've got to be patient. And that's why, the other day when I mentioned that when you have these guys telling you they're getting $8 and $10 a mile, well, first of all, they probably have their own van. But secondly, you have to be sitting there on your couch. You're at home, yeah. You might be with your family, but those load boards have all your attention, because you're looking for that special rate, and you're passing up a lot of good loads to find that one $8 a mile load that's going 100 miles. I don't know. It's worth it to somebody. Some people think it's efficient. I'd rather not stress myself out. I'd rather get my work done, get it over with, and not wait for that golden load. But anyway, doing power only, you have to be patient. You cannot, unless you go with one of these mega carriers like Schneider, they put those loads out there a couple weeks in advance sometimes. JB Hunt does the same thing. Swift, not so much. They put them out occasionally a week in advance, but there again, you're going to be bidding on that load. So if you bid on load a week in advance, you've given somebody a lot of time to figure out how much they can get that load for and underbid you. But be patient when you first start out with power only loads, and don't just take anything. I mean, there were a lot of loads paying under $2 a mile, and unfortunately there are a lot of people out there taking those loads. I can't understand how they're making a profit, or if they are, they're not saving anything towards the maintenance on their trucks for sure. And if they have a truck payment, it baffles me why they would take anything under $2 a mile. But I guess, in a lot of people's minds, they think they can drive 3,000 miles a week, and if they're making, the bare minimum of what they need to at the end of the week, they're putting a little bit in their pocket, but it's really hurting us all when you take $1.50 a mile. But anyway, be patient on the power only load boards. Just keep refreshing, and something will drop in there. And use all the avenues that you can. I've got 20 different load boards on my phone. Every once in a while somebody recommends a different one that I hadn't seen before. But after I've done, after you do get on your own authority, there will come a time when you're not using the load boards as much, because you know the lanes you want to run, those brokers or agents, and lots of times I'm getting emails on loads several days in advance, or even before they put them on load boards, because I've done those routes before, to ask me